So President Biden is traveling, or he went to Africa, to Angola, and we reported yesterday, we were told that KJP wouldn't be having a press briefing. She was on the plane on Air Force One. So some of the reporters did ask her some questions about the pardoning. Exactly. And so we have some sound from her. We don't have a video of her because she is on the plane. But this is what she said about the reason that President Biden pardoned his son.
Does the president believe now and agree with President-elect Trump that the justice system has been weaponized for political purposes and that it needs root and branch reform?
No. Read the president's statement. Seriously, read the president's statement. He said he believes in the Department of Justice. He does. He also believes that raw politics infected the process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. He believes his son was unfairly targeted. He said that what his political opponents have done to my son, that's his words, is cruel and enough is enough.
Not only does she lie, yeah, she just makes stuff up.
Yeah, she's saying that politics have gotten involved in the justice system, which they lauded as believing in the justice system. You can't believe in the justice system and say politics got involved in the justice system and it's affected this case. That means it affected David Weiss, who you left on the job. That, affected the deal that fell apart because an unbiased judge looked at it and said, I've never seen anything like that, and everyone agrees they couldn't. What is so amazing is she's got to be embarrassed because she was assured over and over again this pardon wasn't coming. Senator Michael Bennet, upset by it, by his decision, put personal interest ahead of duty. Democrat Gary Peters, President Biden's decision, pardon his son was wrong. Senator Peter Welch, President Biden's pardon of his son is the action of a loving father, understandable, but the action of our nation's chief executive is unwise. It goes on and on and on. And I just think about all those people that went to bat for the paragon of justice and ethics and saying how great Joe Biden was for not pardoning his son. Now have to sit there and say, after he pardoned his son, man, don't I look stupid? And if you got to Daily Show last night, even that was, if that is the one thing that stood out, I didn't realize how many were taking a bow for Joe Biden's noble stand, which we all knew he was going to reverse because, of course, he was not going to let his son go to jail.
I just think the line here is just stunning. And, we talk about all the former Trump admin people, how they struggled. Typically after you've worked in the White House, you get these big corporate jobs. It's just the way of things. How does she get a job after the constant lying over and over again? Even in that moment, she just makes up what's in the statement. The statement did not say that. Right. And then number two, this is 2 times where the president has been at odds with his Department of Justice. The first time was when the special counsel said, essentially, he cannot stand trial because he's mentally incapable to stand trial, right? And his attorney general allowed that to happen. This is the next time when his Department of Justice said that it was time to bring charges against his son, and he's now saying that his Department of Justice is political. The question is, will we hear from the Attorney General on this? Where is his statement on this? He's taken on his department. Yeah. Will he defend his men and women?
Well, we've heard from David Weiss, the special counsel, and he says, look, it wasn't political. A grand jury returned an indictment, and that's why we proceeded with this.
He bragged about this in his book.
Yes.
He writes that he did this.
Right. We all knew that Joe Biden was going to pardon a full and unconditional pardon for Hunter. We knew that. We knew that for over a year. But for KJP looks terrible. And here's the thing. She said she has been emphatic. She's positive. No pardon, no pardon, no pardon. She has told that lie. Maybe she could rationalize it as Joe's lie for years. If she had any standards, as soon as she heard the president was going to pardon his son, she should have quit. She could have gone out on a high note. Instead, she is part of his legacy of lies, and it is a terrible stain on the press secretary for the White House, for the United States, for her to be a conduit for so many mistruths.
Okay, if you work for someone and they keep telling you, say this, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to pardon. I'm not going to pardon. You go out there in front of the entire world and you repeat what he told you. You trust him to be honest.
Right.
So then when he says, okay, I'm going to pardon, if I were KJP and I were in the room, I would say, respectfully, sir, I can't go out there and say, well, we're blaming it now on politics and blah, 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 because you already put me in a position to say no. I would say he changed his mind. He already lost one son, and now you'd have to be honest. You'd have to say,
tell us not to believe what we're reading. And what the statement says. And the other thing is, Steve, I think you're right. She should have resigned, but she's been lying for 3 years when she said that the president is healthy mentally.
Of course.
That he's been working 10 hours a day, that he outworks us all and we can't keep up with him.
Circles around.
No one told her to say that. She is just saying, I'm going to lie every day about what is actually going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the Oval Office. And there is nothing. I'm surprised there's no cobwebs because he has not been running the country.
Well, ultimately, Ainsley, it doesn't sound like KJP tried to talk Joe Biden out of the pardon, but there are stories now circulating that it sounds like Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, maybe actually was pushing Joe. Right. Joe apparently didn't know whether or not it was the right thing to do. And it sounds like Jill Biden, who, remember, went to the trial every day in Delaware. It sounds like she was saying, hey, come on.
She said, of course, I support the pardon of my son.
Well, it looks like
it was definite in June.
Someone is trying to salvage the Democratic Party. I mean, this just makes them look bad. Their entire campaign.
Or salvage?
Well, take your pick.
Joe Biden savaged it.
Just take your pick on it. Senator Joe Manchin says they should just pardon Trump. Let's watch it.
We do have a soundbite.
Okay.
Stand by.
I want to add this, too. Okay.
What I would have done differently, my recommendation as a council would have been, why don't you go ahead and pardon Donald Trump for all his charges and make it, it had gone down a lot more balanced, if you will. I'm just saying, wipe them out.
James Comer says, next, look for his brother. And you have to pardon his brother. His brother's all over this, trading on the family name for 20 years.
I honestly think their superstition that Trump is, they just got it all wrong. There was no plan to go after the Bidens. He's the type of person, just like a UFC fight, once he's beaten you, he's done. He's done. The fight is over, and he's moved on. He made it very clear that he wasn't going to go after the Bidens. So this fear that they have, they're kind of telling on themselves. I mean, to retroactively pardon him years later and then to do it right before Burisma, I mean...
In 2014.
Yeah.
But it's not just retroactive, it's proactive.
Yes, exactly.
He's pardoning him for stuff that he's been convicted of, but not sentenced. But he is also got the get out of jail free card for anything that happened during that time. And we were talking yesterday with one of the legal experts, and it's like, how long do we wait before he issues a blanket pardon for the entire family? And they said the meter is running because ultimately Joe Biden has that superpower and he can do it. The question is, does he feel there is peril for his family to the point where he's got to do that? His own party is really PO'd at him.
There have been a lot of Democrats that have come out, too, against this and said he shouldn't have done it. And I like what Representative Greg Stanton, Democrat from Arizona, what he said. He says, this wasn't a politically motivated prosecution. Hunter committed felonies and was convicted by a jury of his peers. Because now they're saying he's in this position not because he actually broke the law. He's in this position because I'm the president and this is my son and I put him in this position and he's singled out because of who I am.
International Business Deal said he was linked to. He forgot to continue that sentence, but he was in a rush. The plane was running, Angola was calling, and he had to get out of there. And that's going well, too. He forgot to address Africa for 4 years. China's